In this video, we're going to talk about the setback fillet type in Solidworks. Some programs call this a suitcase corner, but once you understand how to create it, you'll understand why setback is very descriptive. This is probably the most complicated type of feature that you can set up in Solidworks. Certainly the most complicated fillet. Let's roll back the existing fillet to see the geometry that I started with. This part was selected because it has a lot of edges that come down together into a point. You could do the same sort of thing just on a box, and we'll show that example on the bottom. But this is going to be one feature that creates fillets that go along all of these edges, and then all of the fillets blend together at the corners. One of these will be very complex, and the other will be more simple. So let's go into the fillet that was created as an example and see exactly how it was created. The items to fillet still go in the selection box. Fillet feature could have been a constant radius, which is the way it was set up, or it could have been a variable radius fillet, in which case there would be multiple radius values for each edge, with the selection of 7 edges and then at least 4 values per edge. This becomes complicated very quickly. With the setback fillet type, you have to expand the setback parameters box and make some additional selections. The setback vertices box is meant to select the vertex where all of the edges come together. So on the top, it's here at this point, and at the bottom, it's right at this point. And then along each edge that comes into that corner, you have a setback distance, and you can see that these patches are being made to help the fillets all blend together. The fillets on each edge have a different value. They don't have to have a different value, but they can. So you can see some of these are quite large, some of them are small, and the setback distance, which is set in this box, just describes the distance from the vertex where the edge will start to blend with other edges. This is a surprisingly robust feature. You'd think that as complex as it is, that it would be difficult to make this work, but it works most of the time, and you can see it works with blending radius values that are wildly different. Okay, now that we've seen one that's already created, let's go ahead and create one for ourselves. In this case, I'm just going to do a single corner. So I'll start the fillet feature. Make sure this is set to manual and not to fillet expert. We want to set this to a variable radius, and I'm going to select these 3 edges and turn off that selection toolbar for now. We can assign some values. Now you can see how these come together right now is not very graceful, not very pretty, not very nice at all. We'll be able to add values to these variable radius fillets later on. But I'm going to come down here to the setback parameters and start to work on this. In this case, we have only a single setback vertex. Okay, so the one thing I want to teach you here is that the singular of vertices is vertex. I hear so many people say vertice. It's not right. It's vertex and vertices. Okay, so I want one vertex, and in each direction I can set up a separate distance. So the top number goes to this edge over here. We'll set that up to be 25 millimeters, and you can see it start to change already. This one goes to the edge on the left. We'll make this one 50 millimeters, and on the bottom we can make this one 30 millimeters. All right, So now you're starting to see a little bit of the setback fillet taking shape. If we go back up here, now we can set some values for the variable radius. I can click this point and give this, say 15. Click this one, say 20. Now there, I busted it. So, and you can see why this becomes complex, especially if you're using variable radius fillets. Now you can use single radius fillet or constant radius fillet, and it simplifies this a lot, but you don't get as much control. Now I don't know why you'd want to do this, but that's not the question. The question here is how. Alright, so we can show the edges here. That's how you'd create a simple single edge using variable radius fillets. Each one of these edges is related to the setback distance that you assigned for each edge. And the shape of this is created by the values for the variable radius fillets. But remember, here we only did a single edge, and this edge only had 3 coming together. The fillet that existed, if I suppress this one and go back to the second one, remember this one had 7 edges selected, 2 different vertices, for a total of 7 setback distances, but this one only used constant radius fillets instead of variable radius fillets. Where would you use this? You'd use this on complex plastic parts probably, and you'd use it in a situation where you're going to create the same sort of thing manually, but this gives you a way of doing that in a semi-automated fashion. It makes the corners look a little bit softer. If I turn off the edge display, you can see how smooth the corners look. Thanks for watching.